So I think, Belina, we can start.
Okay, cool.
So, hello and welcome to everyone to this Frugal Innovation Insight Hour. And my name is Abhinav Agarwal, and I'm a Paris-based Frugal Innovation consultant. And I hope you're all well quarantined and doing well in your respective corners all around the world. We have seriously nearly the whole world today. People from Italy, Africa, US, a lot of people from different parts of Europe, India. So I think it's pretty representative of the world. And I hope that, I guess that you're also innovating in your daily life with all the unforeseen constraints that the coronavirus is throwing at us. And the idea with frugal innovation is about exploring how we can take all that life throws at us and innovate with joy and happiness and be creative in these kind of moments. And so this series of webinars is really to explore how we can innovate under constraint and with different experts from all around the world. And so the last time we had Professor Anil Gupta, who spoke to us on grassroots innovations. And today we have Belina Rafi, who's going to be speaking to us about how we can use improv for thriving inside and outside organizations. And it's funny how, as in I was reading, I think I stumbled upon a Medium article that mentioned Belina's book on using improv to save the world and me. And then I stumbled upon another book by Michelle Holiday on thriving, the age of thrivability. And both were amazing books in case you're interested in change management and thriving organizations, innovations. And so I contacted them both on LinkedIn, and Belina was in Berlin. And I wanted to get her to Paris to hold a workshop. And finally, with the coronavirus, here we are for this webinar. So I'd just like to, before we start, we have the chat box, the conversations. So if you have any technical problems, if we're speaking too fast, if you have any issues, use that chat box. And then, so we have, I have my co-hosts, Pranav, who's here, and Mark as well, who will help you with any technical problems that you could have. And we have Marie Caron, who's a graphic facilitator, and she's going to be taking visual notes, and she would share what she's her creation at the end of this webinar. So we're going to be here for around an hour, and I would say, Belina, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for giving me a reason to put on a bra today. It's really nice to have you all here. Let me share my screen. And let's go for the keynote. So let's see if you guys can see that.
I can see it.
You can see it. Awesome. Okay. So, and it's always that tricky thing of where do you put that rectangle of the faces in the thing. So,
Belina, will you be sharing the presentation afterwards?
I'm happy to. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
and lovely question. Thanks.
And the webinar also is being recorded, so that'll also be shared later. And I just ask everyone else to stay on mute for the moment. It's going to be an interactive session, so Belina would give the instructions as we go.
Great. Thank you so much. And at the moment, I can't see chat, so if something urgent pops up, let me know. So yeah, I'm delighted to be here. For many years, I've been working with developing improvisation skills for people, and really, I had the pleasure several years ago of working with Michelle Holiday. So it was nice that Abhinav intuitively went for both of us, because we'd actually worked together in Montreal on something that we launched called the Thrivable World Quest. And I just realized my coffee is kicking in and I'm speaking quickly, so I'm going to try to slow down. Okay, so just a few quick things about me. The easiest way to describe where I'm from is Earth, because it's really complicated. I'm part US American, I'm part French. I lived in England for a long time. I grew up in the US, Mexico, Canada, and now I live in Germany. So I really don't understand how to answer quickly, where are you from, other than Earth. I work with people in organizations around the world, and I teach them improvisation mindsets and practices to do three things, really. One is for co-creation. The other is, how do we align organizations with the ways that nature and people thrive, so this thrivability. And I'm also working with a lot of people on how do we communicate environmental and social issues in a really compassionate and funny way. So that's kind of an overview of what I do. And actually what I'd like to do is I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. And if you could please turn on your camera if possible, but put this little Post-it note thing that we've we've mentioned or invited you to have, even if it's a piece of paper or even your thumb if you don't have it. If everybody put up something that blocks their camera, just so we have this beautiful rainbow. Okay, so we're just looking at the rainbow now. Martine, not sure what's going on. There we go. Your background was sort of fighting with it. Okay, so I'm about to ask a few questions, and if the answer, they're yes/no questions. If the answer is yes, my invitation is to remove the piece of paper so we can see you, and if the answer is no, keep the piece of paper on. So, are you currently working within an organization? If yes, take your paper off, so we can just have a sense of who's working within organizations. Okay, cool. So please put your pieces of paper back. Now, if you have experience of improvisation in some way, please take your piece of paper off so I can just see who among us. Oh, nice, lots of lovely people have, good, okay. Now put your piece of paper back. If you have seen theatrical improvisation, if yes, take your picture, take your Post-it away. Okay, good. Please put your Post-it back. Just two more questions. If you have used applied improvisation, and I'll explain more what that is in a bit, but if you've used applied improvisation to help others, take your piece of paper away. Fab. Okay. Ooh, Adam, that was a cheeky look underneath. I don't know if that was. And last question, oh, sorry, I should be taking my Post-it off as well. And last question is, if you have had anything to do with thrivability, this idea of thrivability, if you've read Michelle's book, if you've been part of the quest, please everybody reset by putting your Post-it on. And if you have something to do with thrivability, take your Post-it off. Okay, that's a really lovely thing. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. Thank you for that intro. I wanted to see what lovely people were here. So my intro really, I'm going to talk a little bit, explain more about improvisation. We have a lot of people who are connected with it already. What is this idea of thrivability, and a bit about communication? And what you can see on the screen now is this was our logo for the Thrivable World Quest, and all of the hands that you can see. This was an image that was done in Baltimore 5 years ago. And the quest was a piratey, playful learning adventure, which was my secret excuse and way to teach hundreds of people I've never met before the mindsets of improvisation to support conversations about what would be different in organizations if we really wanted life around the planet to thrive. And part of this adventure was we would have multiple cities running the same design at the same time, or at different times because of the time zones. And because we knew the order, we would have one city give something, an image or an idea, to the next city. So this was Baltimore's image for connections and organizations that they sent to their next city. That's the hands. But I'm going to go back. So here's a question that I have for all of us, which is, what is a recent example of when you have improvised beautifully? And I'm going to stop sharing now if I can find my, no, hang on. There we go. So in chat, in a single line, give us, or if I invite you to share with us, what is one way you found yourself improvising beautifully during these Corona times? And I can give an example. I've become excellent at making mashed potatoes because they comfort me and give me joy during these highly stressful times. So that's one way of just dealing with what is and making it beautiful, delightful. Great. So canceling plane reservations and still getting to the place. Getting really creative about what's in your fridge and making that. So Martine, you've done clouding improvisation for women's rights. How nice. Suddenly putting up online conferences. So how do we do the same what, but change the how completely? So absolutely, those are all fantastic ways of improvisation. Any more? DIY toys with my baby, fantastic. Oh, Caroline, what time's the next one? That sounds really nice. And doing yoga online course, great. So we're all sort of improvising in beautiful ways already. I'm going to change. Our next question is improv versus creativity. Isabel, we'll talk about that in a moment. So hold that for a second. Now I'm going to ask a new question. And this is about organizations. So what have you seen, in what ways have you seen organizations improvise beautifully during these times? If you could write it in chat, like, what are you seeing? Offering products in a Corona safe way, nice. And we're still all trying to work out what the rules for that are, aren't we? Schools are moving online. They've improved their kindness and listening. I think that's beautiful because we're all stressed at this point. So just tuning into that, and hopefully some of them are slowing down. There's a lot of brain research that says when we're nervous, our ability to take on new information is very limited. So one of the beautiful things that practicing improvisation can do is to help us be very present and connected even when we're afraid, which is why we're here today. Fantastic. Allowing people to match the job and the real life. Generosity of free yoga, very nice. Leaders communicating with more heart, absolutely. There's something that if we haven't worked out the humanness of our in-person connections, if we move them online, it's going to be even worse. So that noticing that when things move online, if you can really bring your heart, bring more empathy, slow down, make things more clear, it's going to be much more powerful and enable people to thrive. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Thank you guys for all of those. So recent examples of when have we improvised beautifully, and recent examples of organizations. So one way to think about improvising, so I've Googled this today because I couldn't work out what the official definition was. And one is to create or perform spontaneously without prep. And the other is to produce or make something from whatever is available. And I would say yes, and that definition sounds deceptively simple, and yet there's a lot that goes into helping us be able to do that well. So one of the models that I really like is one by a guy named Robert Poynton. And I'm in Berlin, and I have no tattoos, but if I were to have a tattoo, I would have this model because I really like it. And it's basically, what are we doing when we improvise? So all of the things that you've just listed in chat, a lot of them have to do with, so letting go of behaviors or mindsets that just aren't working in the moment. So letting go of the need to lead all the time, or to follow all the time, or to be highly analytical with no heart base, whatever it is, whatever behavior or mindset that's not working, it's the ability to let that go in the moment, to notice that. So connected to the left-hand column, notice more. How do we notice what's happening for ourselves within the environment with our beautiful colleagues? How do we notice more about what's going on? And then how do we use it in kind of the emergent narrative, the emergent story that's happening with us in it. So those are three main things that we do for improvisation. Are there any questions on that? I just saw something pop up, but I can't see chat from this.
No, I'm taking care of it.
Okay,
if there's
great.
anything, I'll let you know.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And one of the things that I came to realize is that improv is a secret love technology as well. That's how I think of it, because what it's actually doing is it's helping people who are afraid to be generous, connected, and present with each other. So if improvisation is done well, it also is helping a love connection between people, between the earth and everything else. So, and my apologies, I don't know how to move the little box of where you guys are. I don't know if it's in the wrong place for you all as well. So aspects of improv, as you've mentioned, it has to do with kind of dealing with the emergent. So the good news is we all improvise. And when we consciously do improvisational exercises to train our mindset, to train our practice, we can get better at it. One of my fabulous colleagues, Kat Coppett, talks about improv activities as being like going to the gym. Like you can all do certain physical things already, but if you go to the gym and do certain activities, you can do those even better. And it's the same with improv activities. One of the reasons I decided I had to even just up sticks after living in the UK for 15 years and moved to Montreal to work with Michelle Holliday for a year on this thrivability stuff was I did a workshop in Montreal about the work I've been doing with biomimicry experts and improvisation, because improvisation is a fantastic mindset and practice to engage with complex adaptive systems, which our world is, which organizations are. And she wrote a blog that talked about improv is how life works, because it's this emergent collaborative technology. And when I showed that blog to my dad, he said, I finally understand what you do. It's important, keep going. And this is, I've been trying to explain it for 7 years at that point, and he never got it. So one of the reasons I love Michelle is she wrote that blog to help my parents understand what the hell I do. So it helps with resilience as well. We're going to do 2 activities as part of this. Paul Jackson, who co-founded the Applied Improvisation Network, and who I lovingly engaged and slightly forced to be my business partner for several years to just so I could learn this stuff, talks about improv is not only reactive, but creative. One of the things that slightly depresses me is when people said, I had a beautiful plan and then something went wrong and I had to improvise. It's like, nah, improvisation is a beautiful tool to respond. And it's also a beautiful tool to proactively create frugal innovations, frugal changes. one of the roots that I'm bringing to this is I studied with Keith Johnston, who's one of the grandfathers of performance improvisation. So I studied with him in 2008, and I also studied at the Loose Moose Theatre in Canada. So that's about performance improvisation, the mindsets and tools. So a bunch of you had said, yes, I've been to an improvisational theater, and like anything else, there's fabulous versions of that, and there are terrible versions of that. What theater is doing at its best is there's a thin structure within which the actors on stage are operating. And within that, they co-create content together as their performance. And this is exactly what we're doing off stage when we have any conversation, and there are ways of doing it better and less well. So this is this idea of applied improvisation. So that's to non-theatrical realms. And one of the applications, so there's many: adaptive leadership, creativity. One application that I'm aware of is stress reduction for soldiers with PTSD. So I have a colleague who does that, who uses improvisation, because one of the things that people who are traumatized is they either go back in the past to the trauma, or they project forward into a traumatic future that hasn't happened yet. And what improvisation does is it helps us to be very present and have joyful connections now. And that helps to dispel some of the stress. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the grief curve. Give us a little wave if you're familiar with the grief curve. We are here at the moment, thanks to Corona. And on a given day, I've been through all of these. I don't know about Corona. I think it's not linear, that we bounce around these things. All of my work tends to focus on helping people to experiment. And for years now, so I set up my company in 2007. What I saw was organizations were sort of ignoring the climate impact, the social impact that we really needed to address. So my work is focused on how do we get people to go from denial to the experimentation part of this curve. I know yesterday I was feeling, or 2 days ago, I was like in experimentation mode. I had just passed the depression. So I was in experimentation mode. I put my bra back on and then I woke up with what I think was a fever yesterday. So that put me back in frustration and spun out into all sorts of things. And I'm feeling fine now. So yeah, we can move around. And improvisation is a mindset that helps us take good care of ourselves when we're in depression. So it's not about denying it. It's about noticing what's there and how do we care for that beautifully. Improvisation is also great for experimentation, to shift us from the frustration and depression into experimentation. So here's our first activity, and I'm hoping we have the possibility for breakout sessions of twos, but not yet. I want to demo it. So is it possible to, and maybe if we have an odd number, we can just have somebody stay with us in the plenary? Should we
I'm not sure if we'll manage for twos, because I think I have 10 rooms.
Oh, right. Oh, you only have
so I think 3 or 4 should be possible.
Okay, so maybe if you're let's try threes. And if you're in I'll explain what the activity is in a moment. This is just tech talk for a second. Let's do threes and we'll go in a round robin. So here's what this is going to look like. And maybe Abhinav and Mark, can I have both of you unmuted and we'll demo this thing as a 3 before we send everybody off. Could everybody please write down the exercise, which is let's, and then there's a space, and then underneath that it's yes, what I like about your idea is, and a little space, and then and we could, and a space. If everybody could write that down, because when we send you into the breakout rooms, you will not be able to see that, and the script is really important. So Okay, and some of you have played this before. So in a moment, one of us is going to start with let's, and it's something short and sweet that we could do together. So Mark, what's, if you could unmute and just say, let's something, what's something that we could do together?
Have fun.
Very nice. It will help actually if you can give us a specific activity. You've given us an advanced concept to connect with. If you can give us a concrete activity, that'll be easier to start with.
Then let's have a cup of tea.
Fantastic. So what I'm going to do is the first part is I'm going to say, yes, what I like about your idea is that'll help my throat. And we could find cookies. So Abhinav, if you're in R3, the let's now drops away and we're all going to be cycling on yes, what I like about your idea. So my last suggestion was yes, and we could find cookies. Your turn to say yes.
Yes, and that would go really well with some ginger tea.
I love, see, this is the demo is supposed to make mistakes so that we can show how to do it right. So I love it. The script is really important.
Yes,
so
what I like about your idea is that we can also have it with some ginger tea, and we could also invite all the members who are here.
Fantastic. we're going to go back up just a little bit. What's something you actually like about the cookie idea versus you're already adding to it? Okay. Does that make sense? So what's something specific that you could like about the cookies, and then you take us forward?
So yes, what I like about your idea is we cannot have a tea time without cookies.
Okay.
and we could invite all the members here for our tea time as well.
I love it. And then Mark would be, yes, what I like about your idea, and the idea would be the tea time and inviting everybody. So we go around and around in a circle. Is that clear for everybody? We're going to try it for 3 minutes.
Just a technical, Belina, are you going to do, or do you want me to do it? Because I think as we have 10 rooms, we would probably have 3 to 4 people per room. Okay. And they could go around.
Yeah, great.
And in case if anyone gets disconnected for any reason, they can just use the same link to come back. And it's going to last 5 minutes. Is that right?
Let's do 4.
4 minutes. Okay. So Belina, are you doing, or should I?
If you could do it, because I can't see the breakout rooms. So for anybody who's not been in a breakout room yet, there's going to be this transport system that happens for a few seconds where you're like out of the Zoom meeting and then back into your breakout room, just in case anybody hasn't experienced that yet. And let's have the person with the longest hair start with the let's in your group.
Okay. Everyone's going to disappear. I'll keep a check on time.
So you should have join the breakout room in front of you.
That's funny. I think we're going to be remaining.
I could join a breakout room if I have an invitation to, but.
Okay. Let's see if anyone remains. Okay, why haven't they? So I think the people who have stayed here, you've either not accepted, or we can have a session between us. For all those whose mics are on, Christopher, Guillaume, Matthew, are you guys there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
Hello.
Beatrice.
I don't know the reason, but my connection is not very stable, I think.
No
Okay.
problem. Matthew, Guillaume, are you there?
You guys are on mute now. So if you're trying to say something, we can't.
Okay, we've just lost Matthew. Guillaume. Okay, we can experiment with you, Christophe.
Yeah.
Would you like to start
You want
something?
start us off with let's do something cool. Let's what?
Sorry, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's play tennis.
Let's play tennis.
Yes, what I like about your idea is that'll help me lose some weight. And we could sit in the sun afterwards.
Great.
Yes, and what I like about your idea is with this coronavirus, we really need to have a lot of sun exposure as well. And we could definitely use it as an excuse to go out.
Great. Christoph.
Christoph.
Yep.
Yes, and
Yeah.
what
So
I like.
what do you like about Abhinav's idea about getting a lot of sun?
Okay. Yes, what I like about your idea to take some sun is we really need to go out and to enjoy the sun, and we could do it easily because there are nobody in the street.
What I like about your idea is we could take up a lot of space and be really silly in the street because it's empty. And we could wear funny wigs.
Yes, what I like about your idea is that the whole world is our stage now, and with the funny wigs, we could just have fun, and we could also wear funny dresses.
Nice.
Wear funny dresses. Okay. Yeah. Yes. What I like about your idea is we are free to experiment new costume, and we can make a carnival, festival, and we can costume everywhere in the street and dancing.
Nice. Yes, what I like about your idea is it sounds like a great way to bring joy to the city. And we could visit all the people who make good food.
Yes, what I like about your idea is traveling and tasting the good food, and we could also call back all our friends who are in different rooms.
I think we should have a good idea. Let's call back our friend, shall we? Nice.
Okay, they have 60
Thank you,
seconds.
Christoph.
Thank you, Christoph. That was fun. Wow, everyone's coming back. Hello, welcome back. What happened? We just have 12 participants.
They're talking.
Oops.
Everybody
Talking
is
until-
everybody's getting to know each other.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, I think they're gonna talk until it kicks them
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Nice. Welcome back, welcome back.
Okay, that's good. We have everyone back. We haven't lost too many people. Oops, we have Guillaume. It didn't work for Guillaume. Okay, too bad.
The breakout didn't work or the activity didn't work, Guillaume?
Okay, we have didn't work for me, the split up.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
darn, apologies. We're not sure where you went. Too short, I'd love to go further. Okay, great. So here's, Yolanda, here's the cool thing with this. This is one of the few improv activities that you can take everywhere in life with you. And the script, I want to say a few things about the script just to notice. This is a really powerful co-creation tool, and it's a really actually beautiful negotiation tool, because what it helps raise up is what do you have in common? So practicing this, let's do this. And the reason I asked Mark to not make it, let's have fun, let's make it a specific concept, is that level of specificity helps to latch on to, okay, how do we do that thing? So I'll give you an example. If what was, I'm so sorry. What did he say? It wasn't let's have fun. What was the thing that you said afterwards, Mark, to me?
Have some tea.
Let's have some tea. That's very concrete. And you know that I've lived in the UK for a long time. So that's probably going to be something I actually like. So I'm going to get specific about what do I like about having a cup of tea. And that specificity of it can help my throat or whatever it is. If I'm being specific, that means that I can apply, we can solve my specificity about what I like by other things. Other things might help my throat, for example. So we are trying to be really explicit about the value that you find in that idea, even though other parts of the idea might not be connecting with you. So in this activity, our intention is to be on a treasure hunt, right? And even if somebody well-meaning says, let's do this, and you're like, oh, I hate that idea, like internally. But usually there's something that you can find about an idea that you can voice to them that will help tune them into what would actually connect with you. So for example, say somebody said, let's build a concrete table, and and they're really excited about it. Like, let's build a concrete table together. What are some things that you might like about us building a concrete table together? And if you could unmute yourself, let's hear 3 different ideas.
Or you can use the chat box to put in your ideas.
Let's do voice this time.
Oh yeah, what?
It will give us a gathering place.
It'll give us a gathering place. Yeah. What else?
And I've never built a concrete table.
We're doing something new. Absolutely. What's one other thing?
Fosters collaboration.
It fosters collaboration. Yes. So that's what we're working. We're working that mindset of being on a treasure hunt for something specific that you like. Because even if we can't build a concrete table together, it tunes me into, but this person would like to foster collaboration, to connect, to do something new. Yeah. And then, and we could is moving the story forward. It's really important because some people are really trained with yes, but. With that mindset of yes, but, and that sort of kills the connection, like, that's a great idea, but my idea is way better. And one of the things I've noticed in delivering this activity around the world is that there are a few people who try to use the script in that way. So they say, what I like about your idea is not much, and we could do my idea instead. Which is an illegal move for this work, for this activity, because that's not what we're testing here. What we're testing is your ability to really connect with the offer that somebody's giving you and to identify the exact part that lights you up, that you can find value in. Does that make sense? The rest of your lives, you can focus on everything that's wrong. For this activity and this mindset that actually helps with resilience, we're looking at what's right in this piece. Any questions, having just gone through that? And remember, you're not saying, I like the idea as the whole idea, you're just saying what I like about this idea. And I'll give you an example of how this helped me like outside of an organization, just in life. So I went to Munich to deliver a talk on improvisation and awareness. And I just had to get from the Hauptbahnhof, from the main station, 3 stops on the U-Bahn, the metro, to where I was going. And we're leaving the second stop, and somebody's like trying to knock on the window, and I look up and nobody else is on the train, and the train goes into a tunnel and stops. and the doors are locked, and the first thing I do is laugh, because it's like awareness queen right here. And the second thing is I click into this mindset. What I like about this situation is we're in Germany, and in Germany, in the underground, they have mobile phone reception. So I called the organizer of the conference and I said, I've just been kidnapped into a tunnel by your metro system. You know, like, can you help me? And just as she said, I was talking to her, I saw that the train driver was walking past me in the tunnel. So I said, I'll call you right back. And I knocked on the window, help, help, help. And I was able to, he said, like, calm down, in 2 minutes, the thing is gonna go back into the station. This idea of, even though it's a stressful situation, being able to center myself, well, laugh first, because that dispelled my tension, but that helped me also connect into what are my resources that are actually here, and how can I make the most of them. So this practicing with your kids, with your, what I like about your idea has saved marriages. So if you're having a tense time because of Corona, whatever, use this on your partner as, yes, what I like about, and then you like, talk about what you like and then shut up. That's the problem, that's the part that most of us don't get right, is we carry on with all the things that we don't like about what they're saying. Say what you like about it and then shut up and just see the impact. Okay, so that's about that interaction. Anything else while we're still here, because I'm just about to go back into the PowerPoint, on that activity, or where you think it might be useful or interesting?
I think that's something really important that you've underlined, the resilience mindset that Improvs brings about, which is like the key thing in frugal innovation. Like, we can talk about tools, methods, but without the mindset and the values, I think we don't get anywhere.
Yes. And one of the things that happens when we're on the grief curve in depression or anger is it's really difficult to tune into the resources available to you, which is what makes this whole thing tricky, the Corona thing very tricky. So I'm trying to support my local restaurants who are all doing takeaway, right? And so they're doing it in Corona friendly, but and their businesses are really hurting. And there's a system of grant application in Germany that was happening, and everybody was stressed about how to apply because the queuing system kept falling over. And I was extra stressed because all of the forms were about to be in German. I would have 30 minutes to complete it, and I don't speak German, so I'd have to be like copying and pasting into translation stuff. And I was mentioning this to my friend who runs the local cafe, and she's saying, oh, I have screenshots, do you want them? So even being open to, and she sent them to me, and I was able to translate them the night before, and then it took me 7 minutes to complete my form because I had done everything in advance. So there's something about the mindset of improv that helps you kind of be calm enough to ask for help, to notice what resources are possible in this thing. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen one more time. Right. So that's that. I learned it from Sue Walden, who was vice president of something called the Applied Improvisation Network. I was on the board of directors of the network for 6 years, and I co-chaired a lot of their conferences. So if you're interested in the techniques that I'm sharing today, one great place to go is on Facebook. They have a global group of, like, I think at least 7,000 people have joined at the moment. but there's also a website which I'll share at the end. So in this thing of yes, what I like about your idea, and we could, what did you let go of? And for this, I needed to be voiced because I can't see chat at the moment. Let's hear some ideas about what did you let go of to do that activity?
Apprehensions, judgments.
Yeah.
Let go of your original idea. As somebody says something, you think, I know exactly what I want to do, and they say something new, and you think, right, what I like about that.
Yeah. So control almost of the journey. Yeah, nice. Allison's.
I was in the same group with Caroline, and I was going to say exactly the same thing as she said.
Yay, nice. What were you invited to notice more of?
The pieces within something, not just what you first hear, but what else is there within that idea or behind that idea that you can like.
I felt like it obliged to follow something which is not your idea. So get out of your comfort zone and think differently.
Yeah. Nice. And it's a lovely practice, especially when we have certain ideas like lockdown enforced upon us at the moment, to see where can we find beauty even in this difficult situation. Nice. Anything else? What did you use? What were you using?
Listening, actually.
Yeah.
I was listening carefully, actually. So you stopped my thinking about let's go. So I didn't think, and I just focus on listening, actually.
Beautiful. It forces you, because of this co-creation aspect, to be present, to listen, and not be disconnected and up in our head.
Exactly.
So this whole improvisation practice is about that. Is how can Paul talks describes it in a nice way. How can our focus be in the interaction instead of disconnected and up in our head, which we're not used to. Many of us. Yeah, please.
We also unlock our children. We unlock this power of possibility, of doability, and we just start to go on a journey by switching off this critical adult voice, and that I find really exciting, because it just makes you kind of play along and also not have that fear of going into a wrong direction or being that responsible person who needs to kind of blog or streamline something. That I found very exciting.
Really nice. And here's the thing, the more we practice, the better we get at it. Mm-hmm. In organizations, many managers are kind of poised to say no. Yes, but, or no, but, to just keep control. And when employees are told that a few times, they'll stop coming with new ideas. Yeah. So if we can, as managers inside organizations, say, reflect back, here's the beauty I see in your thing. And even if we can't do that, we can do something that takes on that beauty. It's much more empowering. It's much more uplifting. I'm hoping that the energy in your groups also kind of went up a little bit, because there's something really delightful about co-creating in this way. Cool. So how might getting good at finding value in others' ideas help you in life at the moment? Aha. Let's hear 3 people. Let's hear 1 person.
I think what is really valuable is unfold new options. You take.
Yeah.
No. Yes. Putting light on some of our own blind spots.
Yeah. It leads us to new places, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's really cool.
It keeps.
Can I speak? We acknowledge, we get acquainted the other, and I think that we get more stressless, and there is much more confiance. I don't know.
Yeah,
confidence.
Because we listen to his idea and we are going deeper with him. And it's very confiance.
Yeah, it helps with confidence and trust as well. There's some interesting research that says if we play with people a game, we like and trust them more, even if it's a competitive game and they win. If they keep by the rules. If they cheat, we think they're a jerk and it breaks, breaks the trust. But there's something about this playing together creates a safe space, and it ups trust, and it ups things like oxytocin, so that we can connect into those more resourceful states of mind. Nice. How about applying this to organizations? What do you think? Why do you think this might be helpful to help organizations thrive this mindset?
So I think that especially, like we often say this in organizations, but I think especially in the specific time we're in, is if you can't adapt, you're not going to survive. So we have to have a cool, what do I like about this? How do I build on it? Or where does this take us kind of attitude? Otherwise, you've got to move somewhere quickly. Otherwise, you're never going to get there. So yeah.
Beautiful. Actually, that, I have a slide for you coming in about 3 slides.
Right, I think it's about flexibility and building on ideas and quickly, like there's a notion of time also in it, I guess.
Yeah. And here's what I found in bringing these mindsets in practice into organizations. This is really empowering. And you sort of get a sense of your client and what they're after. Are they after just having fun? Or are they after real innovation that changes things? Because bringing in improv, what I find is I normally need to use this with senior managers first. And if they get it and like it, it can live and be part of the culture. If I work with middle managers first and the senior managers aren't aligned with this way of working, they'll kill it so they can stay in control. So that's just a kind of a warning to you guys. This is really empowering. This is not about happy like just exercises that are sort of meaningless. And one of the projects that I've applied these sorts of things to is something called the Frontier Development Lab. So this was me last summer at the NASA Ames Lodge, and I am in the front row, and I'm one of the few people like not doing the fig leaf of shame. In the front row, I'm on the right hand side, the 4th one towards the center from the extreme right on the front row. And basically, what this lab is for 8 weeks, it brings together researchers in artificial intelligence and researchers in space science and earth science. And it puts them in cross-functional teams so that they can develop something which is good for humanity. And basically there's so much satellite data coming out, and a lot of it is being sort of co-opted by corporates to do wealth extraction, business as usual type stuff. And what I love about this 8-week lab is they're using all of that expertise to do something really good for humanity. And I'm the collaboration expert or the collaboration consultant, and I've done it for the last 2 years. And they have a boot camp, and I have to say, I dislike that term boot camp because it makes it very military, but basically our intro week of establishing the culture, what I do is I align the improv activities, like what I like about your idea and lots of others, to community, curiosity, compassion, co-creation, and courage, and comedy, with these smart young people so that they can get a sense of there's a shift in mindset coming from academia, where a lot of academia is yes, but what's wrong with other people's ideas. And also a lot of these people are used to being the smartest person in the room. So I'm trying to help them realize that in their teams, this improv technology is incredibly powerful to co-create and go new places that you've never gone before. And part of what makes it powerful, so this is an article that I wrote on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to be mates with all you guys on LinkedIn, is please stop calling it or framing these things as energizers or icebreakers or a little game. I see I've made one person really happy. Because what that does is that dismisses the extreme power of this. This stuff is the reason that we're doing, yes, it can bring joy and it does bring energy, and it can be a game. I either call it a game or an activity or an exercise, depending on the language the customer needs. But we're doing them because they practice the mindset and the behavior that is powerful for why we are there in the workshop. So this is part of the work. This is not supplement to the work. And I see that there's a new comment. I think, do I need to?
No. It's about collaboration, exercise, trust, play, and everything that they're discussing.
Yeah. Listening to each other. And again, when you have big egos in the room, just inviting them in an enjoyable way to listen to each other, be curious, is a really powerful thing. Okay. Connected with that, connected with the experience that you've just had with what I like about your idea. As I mentioned, I worked with Paul Jackson for a while. He wrote a fabulous book. He co-wrote it called The Solutions Focus. And there's a model that he came up with that is, if we look at the orange circle, which is our current situation, and if we just start with the orange circle and the sun, so based on where we are now, where do we want to get to? What's our desired future based on everything we know now? And if you look at the thing to the left of the current situation, using what works, what are all of our resources that are helping us towards our desired future? And then what's one small step we could take in that direction? So this is, I think most of you who've worked with organizations have realized that 3-year plans, even at the moment, 1-year plans, do not work. So what we're trying to say is how do we make it lighter on us for the things that we can, and say, here's where we want to get to, and we don't know all the steps, but here's something taking us in that direction. And also, as we're going along, our desired future, what is desired, might shift. So then we recalibrate all the resources helping us in this new direction, and we say, what's the next step? So it's almost like Paul talks about tacking in a boat towards the thing that we keep wanting. So it's very emergent. So the things in between the step we've taken and the desired future is all improvisational space. And we're using that let go, notice more, use everything in that space to navigate towards what we want. And so this mindset connected with improv makes things very powerful. Now, I got 6 minutes to talk about drivability. Just wanted to say the traditional way is, here's our current situation, here's the problem that is the wicked problem that's destroying humanity or whatever it is, and here's where we do not want to end up. And those conversations can be very dispiriting, can be heavy, can take our energy away. And what I find is, and if you read the book, you'll experiencing it much more. If we just focus on this, the problems are solved in a way that feels light, but is actually quite deep. The problem still gets solved. It's where is our focus? Our focus is on what we want instead of what we don't want. Okay, with that, I'd like to do the rant activity. And so we've just learned that we can't do breakout rooms. So I'm gonna shift how I'd originally thought about this. Can Anna, can you unmute yourself? Anna Bex.
Yep.
Slovenia. Awesome. Before we start to demo this, we're about to demo an improv activity called The Rant, which I learned from a fabulous lady named Kat Coppett. Before we start this, everybody, I'm going to hush for 30 seconds. Think about something that just pisses you off, that you could complain about with energy for an entire minute. Okay, so if everybody could just tune into what is that thing. And if we're looking at a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is you don't really care and 10 is you're going to rip somebody's head off, pick a 6, you know, like about something that just pisses you off. So Anna, do you have something that pisses you off that you can complain about with us for with energy for an entire minute?
I have.
You do. Awesome. Fantastic. So in a moment, I'll invite you to go, and Anna's going to complain and complain and complain. And I'm going to stop her after a minute. Oop, hang on for 1 second. I'm going to get my bells. Hang on. I'm back. Okay, so, Anna, on your mark, get set, go.
All right, what I really hate now with the coronavirus and everybody being don't give a fuck when you walk out on the street and they just don't move around. They just pass you. They even move your face towards your face and start talking about you. Like, don't they know what's going on? Like, everybody just wants to be safe. And yeah, I have to go out. I have to walk somewhere. And now everybody's walking on the same road. Can you just be so polite and maybe go on the other side of the screen? Do you have to bump into me? Come on, guys. Really, I don't want your face in my face. Don't you read all the news? Don't you listen to all the radios? Are you so ignorant of what, like, of yourself? Like, maybe it doesn't show, but you might be infected. Nobody knows who's infected and who not. Okay? Really, this is really pisses me off. It's so inconsiderate.
Can everybody just unmute for a second and give Anna a round of applause, please? Awesome. So actually, I'm going to stop sharing inch. So let's go back to, that was a great thing. So now here's our job. Based on what Anna said, what are the beautiful things we suspect she wants and cares about? Based on what she just said, what are the beautiful things that she wants and cares about?
That anyone is safe.
Yeah, let's put it in chat. Yeah, so there's safety, there's health, absolutely.
Consideration.
Yeah, consideration. There's something about caring for caring for each other. There's something about
respect.
Yeah.
Mutual respect.
Yeah. Really nice. So how did those
we're all precious. We're all precious.
Beautiful. Nice, Matthew. Yeah. How did those resonate with you, Anna? Yes. So look at Anna's face right now.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you.
So this move of when somebody comes to you angry and identifying not with the anger on top, the fire on top, but with the beautiful thing you want underneath, and being able to reflect back and check, is this, I hear you care about this beautiful thing, is that right? That is an incredibly important skill to have. And again, the more you practice, the better and the easier it gets. It's also a fabulous practice for yourself. If you find yourself getting super pissed off with something, you can ask yourself the question, what's the beautiful thing I care about and want in this moment? I recommend that you try this. Try it with low stakes, meaning don't have somebody come up to you and say, like, here are the 3 things that piss me off about you. Like, that's not where you start. Don't start with your parents. That's not going to be a good place to start. Start with something that you don't have a lot of skin in the game, you don't have a lot of connection with, just to start practicing, and then you can deepen the practice. So this is called the rant. Gosh, we are at time. I'm so sorry. Let me, I'm just going to share a screen for a few more things, and then we will open it up to Q&A. I'm almost finished, I promise. Okay, so George Lakoff wrote a fantastic book called Don't Think of an Elephant. And the reason that I invited you all to respond to Anna with what does she want versus what she does not want is when you say things like, well, Anna doesn't want people to do this, our brains can't process it well. And it's also a heavy way of reflecting that back. If we can reflect back just the pure, clean, this is what she wants, that's much more uplifting. And it's also something that we can easily share those values of safety, of health, in a way that we can process. If you use a negative, don't spill the milk, often we'll spill the milk because there's something about the word not that we can't process. Okay, this is a fantastic book. The Age of Thrivability, as Abhinav mentioned. Here was the original banner. So even though we knew all of this stuff going in, and we chose the word thrivability because sustainability had a lot of baggage to it, and it was being approached in a lot of business as usual ways. Let's get, I don't know if you've read Cradle to Cradle, there was a lovely line in it that says, do you want your marriage to be less bad or do you want it to be good? and I love that line. And so this idea of thrivability, let's aim for what we want instead of away from what we don't want, was really powerful for me. Despite that, this was the first banner that we had, a global quest to chart how organizations must be if humanity is to survive. And that was up for about 2 weeks before I'm like, oh, fuck. We've actually done in our communication what we said we're not trying to do. So we shifted it to, it must be if life is to thrive. What do we want instead of what we don't want? Similarly, Michelle's model, when I first moved to work with her, was called the engagement competency model. And I was like, Michelle, that's a terrible name. Like thrivability isn't even in the name. And she evolved it over time, and it's now the DNA of organizational thrivability. What's your sense? 2 more minutes on this, or do we open it up for questions of what we've done? Because
sure. I think you can finish.
Okay.
If there are people who have to leave, you could just put your comments in the chat box, and we will of course share the recording afterwards. But I think we are just finishing, right, with Belina, and then we'll take in the questions.
We're in the last few. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No.
So you might notice the difference too between the descriptions here and the descriptions in this next one. This adding of your offering is great. We have the support we need. I had to ask her to let's co-create those and add those, because I was just coming back from my grandfather's funeral. And we were about to deliver a workshop together in Montreal with this. And I told her, the language is too heavy. Like I can't, the concepts are beautiful and important. And in the current state that I was in, I couldn't process information easily. I needed an anchor, like we evolved together, to connect, something more simple to connect me in. So that's just an example of sometimes we need to make things playful and simple, just as an anchor to connect with it at first, especially when people are in stress. High level. The top row is about how organizations connect with the world. The bottom row is about what's happening inside of the organization. And the middle row is what are the connective tissues that are connecting outside with inside and evolving the whole thing. What we did in the Thrivable World Quest was we made each of these boxes and an island. And we asked our piratey playful groups to land on that island and find the treasure. So what's different in our organization if we really, in the way that we connect, for example, connection with our customers, with our clients, with everybody on the outside, if we really wanted life on the planet to thrive? So that was the main question. On Facebook, you can still see the Facebook page, and I'll share this with everybody. So we have Berlin, I think it's Stellenbosch, and Montreal and Tokyo in this page, all connecting with each other. And Michelle's fabulous question, which I invite you to play with. What might be different if you or if your organization really wanted life on the planet to thrive? And connected back with frugal innovation, like you can innovate about anything. For me, the interesting space is how can you innovate to really help life on the planet to thrive, to give it dignity, joy, all of those things. That work I ended up doing a conference in Tehran on thrivability, and with the Eden Project as well. So you can see that people are standing in the boxes. So we put them on the floor. Stand where you feel like you're strong in this model, and stand where you need help. You can have those sorts of conversations. Last thing, this picture is blurry because when I took it, I was laughing. I was laughing because at the top, climate change, economic collapse, be a contributor, not a victim. I wasn't sure what they wanted us to contribute to. And I thought, wow, two very different sorts of people are going to show up to this meeting. So I noticed that the way people communicate about climate change, about things we're afraid of, needed some help. And that's why I started Sustainable Stand-Up, and I've worked with these companies. Let's do a Q&A. So I'm gonna have, give you some lists of links to follow up on. I'm gonna stop sharing now.
Thank you so much, Belina. That was such a wonderful, generous session, and how it was really practical on how each one of us can have this mind shift and contribute constructively in our personal lives and as well as in organizations. And what really marked me was the solution focus model. Like through the diagram, it's like pretty clear how instead of we have a problem, we need to find a solution. How can we create the space for emergence? So thank you.
Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you. I recommend all of you to read her book, Using Improv to Save the World, and as well as Michelle Holiday's book. And now if you have questions, I see that Professor Gupta is here with us as well. Oh, nice. If you would like to share anything, any thoughts, if anyone wants to share any thoughts, questions, you can use the chat or unmute yourself.
Hi, it's Nicholas here.
Hey, Nicholas from Sweden.
Yes, I just want to add that I really love this session, Belina. You're so much, you have so much love inside you, and I'm just so happy after this. You gave me so much energy, and to all of you and to listen to this, and it was really made me happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. Alison, yeah, and Anna, you guys were part of the Thrivable World Quest. Anna, you just raised your hand. Do you want to talk about your experience of it? What was something useful about or lovely being part of it? What did you?
At the Thrivable Quest?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome because we did it in a group with some friends, and the questions or the topics that we discussed, they opened new possibilities on how we can look at organizations and how we work. And like each topic, I was part of 2 or 3 Thrivable Quests, not all of them, but it was just the action of exploration itself, just thinking about and exploring what are the different ways that we could work, changed our perception on what can be done, right? Just exploration on its own was like, okay, this can be done in a different way. And because we were using the improv techniques, we were doing this in a playful and open way. So we would open up to new possibilities. And I remember we would just, even after the official program, we would stay at the end of the day and just keep the conversation going on. So it was really uplifting.
Thank you. Alison, how about you?
Yeah, I would yes and to what Anna said. I was involved in the design of quite a few of the sessions, and while we'd be doing the design, I'd be thinking, how on earth are we going to have an answer for these questions? What could be a way to do this that will actually make a difference? And then every time it was just astonishing to see what would be generated by, even the one time I only had one person to do it with me. Other times it was a bigger group, and it didn't matter how many we were, we came up with amazing things just by trusting to get into the playfulness, use the design and see what came out of it. And it was powerful and magical.
It was my secret way to teach hundreds of people I've never met improv around the world because we used it as a way to engender trust and also to embody the topic that we were there to do. So if we were looking at, for example, structure, so what are the things, the tangible things that we need to help and what would be different in those to help life thrive on the planet, we would do storytelling that would tune us into things, like what's around us, imagining what it's around us, and then we would approach the topic. So improv is a fantastic way to embody the learning that you're there to do. Beatrice, you also, we work together on design because you have the design school in Milano. So I'm wondering what's useful for improv and thriving that you've seen.
Hi, everybody. So, generally, we adopted this kind of let's call tools, but okay, the more than a tool, this approach, a mood, okay, to facilitate the discussion and to facilitate the opinion sharing among people and to create something new from different ideas. So it is always a good way to find a common sense or a common direction when different people have different opinions, or also people don't know where they are going to. So it is always interesting also to understand the mental shift of the people. So people that start with an idea and then end with another idea totally different. So it's always interesting to see their process rather than the result. Okay, and always they have fun, so it's important also.
Nice, thank you. And I was in a great, Carolyn, I was in a great project with you where you're like, I'm going to need an improviser, because we did this project on food security in Ghana that was like intense and wonderful. Do you want to tell us about how improv helped us in that week?
So starting with the fact that the hotel that we were promised, we stayed in for what, 30 hours, and then they spontaneously moved us to a place with no walls. And right away, almost everything we had planned couldn't work. So we were improvising in terms of what we offered, but it also in terms of how we offered it, and then in terms of how we kept hold of ourselves, because we turned out to be quite far from anything. And so there were tin roofs on where we were staying. And during the night, things would land and run across them. And every time you'd wake up with a start. So, and then at one point it was raining so hard, it rained right through the roof and we were getting very, very wet inside. And these are minor things, but it just shows that every bit of everything was not what we expected. I don't think that there was anything as promised at all. So, including food poisoning halfway through. But one of the lovely things was that it allowed everybody to think outside their classic roles and how they were showing up. And it invited everybody to show up the way that we were, which is okay. So now that what we like about this new situation is, and so that whole notion of perpetually building on what is rather than raging against what isn't or what should be, I think was a very powerful shift. Certainly for me in the course of that week, and I think for everybody, it was good fun. Including we had to break open your door so you could join us one day because you got off.
Improvisation all the way.
Improvisation all the way. Yeah.
Thank you so much. What I love about developing improvisation mindset and practice with people is it's fractal. Meaning, so if we're teaching it for adaptive leadership, improv for adaptive leadership, you can use those same skills to be a great parent, to deal with unprecedented weather, you take it with you, and our need to improvise is increasing, is throughout life. So if you get good at it in one area, you can really easily apply it to many different areas.
We have Jeff Miller, who's giving a reference to MacGyver.
Oh, yes.
Of course, it's the MacGyver mindset of solving problems with what you have under your hands.
I referenced, Jeff, a MacGyver move that I did in Tokyo with using Wi-Fi through the door that I couldn't get in to
Wow.
work out how to get help. So absolutely, nice.
So I think that was a really good appetizer for what's next to come, I guess. We'd love to have probably a session with you in Paris, or probably another a masterclass, or like improvisation with online tools, or like improvisation. I don't know how things would roll out with the coronavirus in time in the next few months. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Belina.
Thank you. Thank you so much for organizing this.
We can applaud for Belina. You can take off your mute.
That's really kind, guys. Thank you so much.
I invite everyone to join the Frugal Changemakers community, and where I'll share the video. You should connect with Belina, and if there's just one last question, and we can close the session. I think there's Mithun as well, who's followed a session with you in Berlin.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if he's.
Hi, it was not a session with you. I think we were at the Berlin Change Days.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. So
nice to see you.
Same here. So actually, Abhinav just told me about this session that I'm doing with Belina. Then I just asked him, okay, is it Belina Rafi? And so then I just checked, and then, okay, yeah, it is the same Belina.
I might be co-hosting the Berlin Change Days this autumn, so I might be back there again.
Yeah, let's see if it works out with my agenda. I'll be glad to be there again.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you all for coming today. I really appreciate it. It's really nice to see everybody, and thank you for organizing this. It's such a great crowd, and I'm so excited to have my peeps join your peeps. It's really nice.